welcome Sandra Urquhart.
Donald Trump is the best president for women ever. Why do I say that? How could I say that? This self-centered, loudmouth brute, this arrogant, egotistical, chauvinistic pig of a man, it so adroitly, thank you, Alex, represents everything that women despise in men. And because he so adequately represents that, he has been the unintentional icon of sexual misconduct. Because he has the highest office in the land, and he has been accused of this, finally, this subject matter has come out from under the rug, up off the floor, and onto the table for national discussion. And it's about time. He has also become, inadvertently, the cause of the unification of women everywhere. Women in droves are supporting each other like never before. Additionally, they are now, because they're supporting each other, raising their voices as one in solidarity against this injustice against women that's been plaguing us for centuries. Now, this is the reason that I decided to do this discussion. Several times in here, on different occasions, different young men and older men voiced this sentiment to the group during table topics when asked, what do you think about dating in this day and age? And as they made this sentiment known, several women in the room, it was kind of like a joke amongst the men, and the men only asked the men this question. They didn't ask the women. They only asked the men. And the women smiled and kind of laughed a little uncomfortably as this kept getting said. But by the third time I heard it, I felt the hairs on the back of my neck start to bristle. And I thought to myself, I need to address this. So gentlemen, strap in, because I'm about to tell you what women want and what women unequivocally don't want. What they don't want is oppression. And that oppression comes in the form of the old boys club, the male domination ideology that has been plaguing us for centuries. The idea that we have to abide by male sexual expectation and the agenda of conquest. We're tired of that. It ends up causing women to be victimized. And we're tired of being victimized by men with this sentiment. Now, if you look at the references I have up there, the statistics, you'll see that those figures right there, actually, let me let you know, those figures are the low ball estimates. And if you look at that lowest low ball estimate, 25% report. But 75% don't report. You know what that tells me? That tells me that 100% of the women that you encounter every day have been victimized, because those are lowball figures. And this is happening due to the same two tactics. It's shame and fear. It stops the women from reporting it. It stops the women from fighting against it. And it's been used against them to hold them hostage, to keep them oppressed. If you look at the statistics for rape, as you can see, there's a lot of women getting raped. A lot of women reporting attempted and completed rapes. Every 98 seconds, that's happening. And this 1 in 6, I think it's more like 1 in 2. I stand before you today a victim. It started with my father. It continued with various men who stalked me, including a boss on my job who stalked me in the workplace. To the man who assaulted and battered me because I dared to refuse his aggressive move against me. To the man who date raped me. So yes, it's happening. And it's happening often, and women are it's not just happening to them once. It's so rampant that I am willing to bet you that if it's 1 out of 6 women, that 1 out of 6, it's happened to them more than one time. This victimization happens first through devaluation. And let me explain to you how this devaluation happens. When a beautiful woman walks into a room, men take a look at her, size her up, and start gathering together in little groups. And this is not all men, mind you, I understand that. But sometimes they'll gather together and they'll scope her out and start clucking amongst themselves. You see that? And they're sizing her up and breaking her down by her body parts as to what their preferences are. And while they're doing that, they're devaluating her because she's no longer a person, she's just a collection of body parts. And they're evaluating her according to how banging they think she is. And while they're doing that in a room that has other women, they're sending a subliminal message to all these other women that this is what they find valuable, this body type. And if you don't have that body type or that kind of look, you're not as valuable. That's the first step. That 2 and 4, it's a mindset or a thought, and maybe even a vocalized idea that you are looking at this woman thinking about what you can do to her or what she can do for you. And where is her rights in that thought? Where's her feelings in that thought or her will? It's not there. So when I looked up these words right here, because that's what that is based off of, I noticed that there were several words that just really popped out, and it's a continual thing. Uncontrolled, overmastering, unrestrained and excessive, and illicit. That's unlawful. That's without authority. That's what happens when men set their mindset on a woman like that. We become prey. It becomes a battle for conquest, especially if a woman is resistant. If she's saying no, oh, it's a challenge now. We become your prey. We're not people anymore. We're prey. And when men get in a mindset of hunting or battling, they're violent. They're aggressive. Not all men, mind you. I understand that. But this is what's happening. So it turns into objectification. And this happens also through the culture, because men dominate the world we live in, and they dominate and dictate the media. This happens through the marketing. They market their agenda of conquest through marketing. They use our bodies to sell products all the time. And they also use our bodies to send messages to us. They tell us that in this marketing messages that we must sexualize ourselves for their pleasure. And they tell us that we're empowered by doing so. I'm going to give you a sample of a message that was like that from a few years back. And it perfectly fits what I'm saying. I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never, ever, ever let you forget you're the man. Because I'm a woman. Yes, Ajali, exactly. Okay, that's how they tell us that we're powerful, by indentured servitude. They tell us that the male agenda is that we must be a lady in the street for them, a wife in the home, mother to their children, and a whore in the bedroom. And that commercial added one because it said I can bring home the bacon, which means I'm doing the man's job for him as well. So if I have 4, maybe 5 roles here or jobs that I have to do to your one, what do I need you for? It's a good question. I certainly don't need you to violate me. That's the role setting that's been going on for centuries It happens through manipulation, these false empowerment strategies, media messages. Michael Baisden is a DJ for Hot 105. And I can't stand him because he utilizes his popularity and his reach to send a message to women telling them, if you see something you like, just go get it. You see a man you like, walk up to him and tell him what you want. Do you think that he's telling me that I should walk up to a man and tell him I want the house with the picket fence? No, that's not the message he's sending. He is telling me that if I see you and I like you or I'm attracted to you, I should just walk up to you and sexually tell you what I want. Now, if I did that, if I was that type of woman, you know what would happen? If the man was interested, he would definitely agree right away. But even if he wasn't that interested, if I looked okay to him and my body parts were, kind of okay with him, he'd treat me like an amusement park and just ride the ride until he got bored or something else came along that he felt was better. And that's all that would happen. Using the women as usual. Steve Harvey, he disappointed me because I heard on his show one day in the little dating segment where he's advising women on how to get dates, I heard Steve say that women should give it up between the first and third month of dating. There are some men out there who think women should give it up on the first date. When Steve Harvey's a professing Christian like me. So that disappointed me. And then the comedians. They're always trying to send us messages, ladies, about our bodies and what and how we should utilize it, when for their pleasure. They try to set the agenda. And they've been doing that to us for a long, long time. So it comes down to submission and subjugation. And there is a difference between those two. I'm going to tell you where it originated from. Submission, the whole concept of submission that's been forced on women for years, originated in the church. And I stand before you as a Bible-reading Christian. I'm rock solid in my belief. But I know the truth. I know that I got tired of being told for years that I was weaker, that I was less than. I got tired of being told that I've got to be under a man's thumb. And being told that I have to submit. I have to submit. So I wanted to know where this came from. I wanted to know if it was true. So I started doing a little digging. And I went and looked at Genesis. And in the beginning, it says that God created two people at the same time. Man and woman, in spirit, in his image, and in his likeness. But in spirit they were, and they were asleep. While he created the atmosphere for them to abide in. While he created the first body that was going to abide there. And then he breathed pneuma spirit into that body, and he woke the man up. And then later on, after he gave the man a job, because the first job was to tend the garden, and that job was given to the man. After he gave the man the job, then, while the man was doing the job, he saw his need. He recognized his need for a helper, for somebody, a companion with him. And then God drew the woman up out of the man. But he put him to work first. That's the first thing he did. But we were created to help, to complement men. We were a gift to men. We are a gift to men. And they should treat us as such. The other part of that whole submission ideology comes from the New Testament. It comes from the book of Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, I believe, chapter 13 on love. And the part that the church always hammered home to us was, wives, submit to your husbands. Wives should submit to your husbands. But when I went back and I read that verse, the operative word was should. Should means that I've got options. It's not a requirement. It's not a demand. It's not a command. It's not must. It's should. And the preface to that was a command to the men. Men, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. The church is considered to be the bride of Christ. So the husband was supposed to love his wife the way Christ loved the church, and Christ died for the church. He submitted completely unto death. So a husband is supposed to love his wife in that manner first before she has to submit to him. Because otherwise she has the option not to do so. If he doesn't submit first, if he doesn't honor her first, she does not have to submit to him. And it's right there in black and white. So what I want to tell you is that we don't want that indentured servitude anymore. We don't want to be subjugated anymore. What women want? Number one thing women want, integrity. Integrity is huge. You know why? Because our security and our safety is not found in your money. We don't care about your money. We care about whether or not we can trust you. And if we can't trust you, we're not safe. If you think that you're a man of integrity, and you think prostitution is okay, or you think porn is okay, guess what? You're not a man of integrity. Because what you don't see, what ends up on the cutting room floor, is evidence of rape. Those women are being raped on a continual basis. I've seen the cutting room floor evidence. They're crying, they're asking for them to stop, they're in pain. They're being degraded. They're being called all sorts of names. They're being humiliated. So that's somebody's mother, daughter, sister, cousin is being treated like that. And if that's okay with you for your entertainment, you're not a man of integrity. Because a man of integrity wants to protect women. The other thing that we're looking for is compassion. And especially in your communication with us. If you don't have compassion towards us, which is what I was just describing a minute ago, if we don't feel that we're safe with you, we don't want to be with you. We need to know that you understand us. We need to know that you're patient. And you're willing to work with us through whatever. We also need to know that we're appreciated. We need to know that you respect us. Respect is love. But bottom line, what we're looking for, someday my prince will come. We're not looking for a real prince. We're looking for a prince of a man. We're looking for a man with a royal character. We're looking for a man with a servant's heart, with the character of a good king. That's what we're looking for. Because a king, a good king, a great king, he honors his queen and he knows how to treat her. That's what every woman wants. And when we get that, when you are that type of man, and I encourage you, if you're not there yet, grow towards it. If you think for one moment that women don't want what they want, if you think your woman doesn't want what she know what she wants, or you think that she's unsure, I'll tell you why she's unsure. Because you're not man enough. You're not real enough. And if that's the case, then you need to grow. You need to do something about it. Because when you become that man, you tell us that you care. And a woman that knows that she has a man like that, ride or die, she'll follow him to the ends of the earth. Thank you.
Well, Sandra, thank you so much for that speech.